Hello, good evening and welcome to another program on Law and Order on another Friday evening with another interesting topic on law. Now, criminal law is an interesting area where there are lots of sub areas which we should discuss and which we would like you to know. Murder is the area we have picked today from the criminal law. Now, we all know about this serious legal phenomena, if I say, or legal provision, but how does it operate? How does one complain, and how does the process of a murder investigation and murder prosecution to the end goes through? It is important to know for all citizens. So tonight we thought we'll go to the heart of the matter with an expert on the subject. My expert guest today is once again President's Counsel Prashantalal Dialvis. Prashantalal Dialvis is also a lecturer in criminal law in the law faculty of University of Colombo. Prashanta, thank you very much for coming back to Rupayani. Last time we had an interesting discussion, very vibrant, interesting discussion on rape. Today we're going to discuss about murder. I'll start by asking the same question of before, without using the word definition. What exactly is regarded in law as murder?
Murder is killing a human being. I mean,
simply that.
Simply that.
Simply that. Yeah.
Because we know it's a right to life.
Yes.
Is one of the most fundamental rights of human being.
Right.
And when you take right to life, and that's the most heinous and the most gravest crime that you can define on, because life is gone. Rest is about your assault and rape or whatever you call it. You steal a life. Now here you are not there anymore, and it affects totally your family, and because you are dependent, there are dependents on you, and it affects the entire society. And therefore, the murder is regarded as the most highest crime, and that is embodied in the Penal Code of Sri Lanka, and that is basically taking the life of another or causing death in real technical terms.
Right. The legal definition is it the same?
Causing death of a person.
Causing death of a person.
Yes.
There is a difference from the little criminal law I know about murder and culpable homicide.
Yes.
Can you define this?
Yes.
The difference?
Murder is actually, if you I'll rather go very simple rather than going be legalistic.
Okay.
It's about pre-plan. You plan and you have a mindset to kill, and that is definitely murder. And you say you have an intention to kill, and I'm just going by technical again. Knowledge that in all probability that the death is the consequence, then of course that's knowledge, and that's murder. But if it is just mere knowledge that the death is likely to cause death, that is not that grave as before, that in all probability cause death, it is likely to cause death. That if you had that knowledge, we call it culpable homicide, not amounting to murder. But later we can discuss there are so many defenses, and that defenses which is mitigatory, we call it, bringing it down, murder to culpable homicide. Now that would be culpable homicide. Now culpable homicide, if you take the term, it is a jail term. It is a maximum 20 years, not a minimum. So even a judge can have a suspended sentence on a culpable homicide offense. Murder, it is mandatory because it's pre-planned, and that is death sentence. But if it is culpable homicide, you don't need to be mandatory death sentence. You can go up to 20 years. So it's not even death sentence.
Right. Now, unlike in other offences, the victim is not there to make the complaint.
Absolutely.
So who can make a complaint, and how does it take the police proceeds from the point of complaint?
Unlike rape, it is a victim who has to go generally. But here, say I see a person murdered, I see a person fallen dead, I can call 119 and make the complaint. Anyone could be, generally can be the complainant. But in most cases, it is a closest family member. Or if a person is taken to the hospital and then admitted and die there, of course, then there is always, in every hospital, there is a police station, a police center, and that would be the complaint. So a man is found dead and is rushed to the hospital, and then he dies in the hospital, then that would be the complaint. So it is a wide area. There is nothing called a personal who has to do it. Now say I'm hurt, you hit me and I have a fracture. You can still complain, somebody else can complain, but I have to be the complainant. In this case, since as you said, you are not more, anyone can make a complaint.
Okay. How does the police proceed from there?
Obviously the first thing is you have to have the post-mortem report. Because when you take the post-mortem, that means you have to ascertain the cause of death. There the judicial medical officer makes a very crucial part, because it can be by death by different means, by shooting, asphyxia, by strangulation, all that has to come in. And then you dissect the entire body, the JMO, and you will find whether in the even the stomach contents, whether he was drunk, and internal injuries, internal how the blood has got affected. Everything will be looked by the JMO to ascertain all that. Even the stomach contents can be sent to the government analyst to see whether there was poisoning. So likewise, it's a wide variety of medical, judicial, we call it forensic medicine area that would come into play. But then the most important factor after that would be the inquest, because the death can happen with many, even by natural means, suicide, or by outside force, and that is murder. So the first and foremost, when there is a death, there must be an inquest. At that inquest, the purpose of the inquest is to find out the cause of death, because if it is a natural death, there is no murder. If it is suicide, there is no murder. So if there is only murder, the process starts, and there the magistrate, the person who, generally the magistrate or the inquest, they will direct the police to arrest the accused. Now that's where the process starts. The accused will be found, and then in the charge, indicted in the High Court, and the trial will go on.
What are the elements that the prosecution need to prove to get a successful result?
Yeah, as we explained before, it is like causing the death. Now say somebody hit me, and then I am a bit weak, my blood does not clot. Now I'm just giving you examples, right? Blood, I mean, you are not aware that even a slight injury, the blood would not clot, and therefore I would die. And you can't be charged for murder, right? Because you were not aware that I had such a weakness. You only wanted to just hit me and create maybe even an abrasion or a scratch, but that would create death. Now that would not be murder. That would be simple hurt, because your intention is the crucial one, that you want to do that. So likewise, the prosecution has a daunting task, as State Counsel we did, to prove first that the man had died, and that is obvious with the judicial medical officer, and the two people identified in the dead body. We would say Pasantala Alialis is dead. But then the would be whether accused caused the death. Say accused, now in England it is 1 year, 1 day. And if it is beyond that, it would not be murder. 1 year, 1 day. The man must die.
1 year, 1 day?
If I hit somebody, within 1 year, 1 day, if he or she dies, then it is only murder. But if it is 1 year, 2 days, it's not murder. So they have put even a time limit. Sri Lanka do not have that. But then scenario is that we have to prove causation. Good example would be I hit somebody, and I'm on, the other person is on the hospital, and you get bed sores taking place. So the cause of death would be bed sores. So then there is an issue of proving the causation. So that's where the whole most important thing. Then the important thing is of identifying the accused, of course. That's common to any offense. The identification parade is a crucial one. Lighting, whether light was sufficient enough to identify the accused. Now that would be the first major one. The most daunting task would be, again, is to prove the intention, because no one can have to ascertain what was inside your mind, whether it was intention, as I said before, or knowledge. Now how do we prove it? Say on the chest, you stab about 4 or 5 times. Obviously it is murder. If I shoot you, obviously it is murder. If I strangulate you, obviously it is murder. But imagine if I stab you only chest 1 time, when I had an opportunity to stab you 5 times, that is likely to cause death. So that will be culpable homicide, even if you die. And say if I stab below the knee, obviously I don't want to, because when I had all the opportunity to kill you by stabbing you on your head, on the chest, why did I stab below the knee? So that would be not murder. So this is the most difficult thing, to prove the mental element, or what was the accused thinking at that time when he did that.
Right. Now defenses. There are lots of defenses that people take for murder, accused people. What are the defenses that are available? We
have what we call exculpatory defense. That means you go out free. You are not anymore convicted. And there are mitigatory things where, as I said before, murder is brought down to culpable homicide, not amounting to murder. Now first let me take exculpatory defenses, where you go totally free. Say accused is an insane person who never knew the nature and the consequence of his act because of the disease of mind. That is section 77. Then he can't be convicted for murder. Then if it is private defense, you try to kill me and I kill you back, and that's, I would go scot-free, completely free, because I have acted within right to private defense. If somebody comes into my house in the night right, and I see him in my room and I attacked him, then I have a right to protect my property in that context. So you can kill. So likewise, there are many sections, that is a very detailed ones, but just to drive a point, if it is private defense, that you have a fear of death and a fear of life, and if you are going to be raped, that kind of scenario, you can even kill a person. So that is again totally exculpatory defense. If you are intoxicated by force, or without your knowledge, then again we call it intoxication. And involuntary intoxication, you can go free. So likewise, there are many, like necessity, consent, there are so many defenses in chapter 5 of the penal code that will make you totally exculpatory. But mitigatory is different. Only in murder you have mitigatory defenses in section 294. That's where grave and sudden provoke. You provoke me, and it is so grave and so sudden, I can't plan. It has to be impromptu, same moment. I have to react fast. And in that context, the murder will be brought down to basically culpable homicide. You don't go scot-free, but then it will be brought down. So there won't be death sentence, but there would be a maximum 20 years, even a suspended term. And if you exceed the right of private and say, now you try to kill me and I hit once and you have fallen, what you are supposed to do is run. You are not supposed to go and keep on attacking you, because that is exceeding the right of private defense. In that context, it will be culpable homicide. And if there is a sudden fight without provocation, suddenly people fight, that would be that. And very interestingly, if the mother kills your child within 1 year because you are mentally imbalanced due to the childbirth, or because you are lactation, giving milk, for that reason, if the mother is mentally imbalanced, the mother can kill your child, and that will be culpable homicide, not murder. So those are the exceptions only given for murder as far as mitigatory ones, and those are the defenses that an accused could take.
Yeah. In two of the defenses you said about unsound person, person of unsound mind killing, and person who has been involuntarily intoxicated killing, can't a third party use such people at such events to kill another person? It can happen. So in such events, how are you going to find, does the case ends because the person who actually did the act did not have the intention, or can the intention be extended to a party behind it?
The other person will be charged for aiding and abetting, because our section 100, 101, 102 brings out a concept called aiding and abetting. I'll just take you through 3 areas. If you conspire with a actual offender, and if you intentionally aid or instigate, that falls under aiding and abetting. Instigate, conspire, and intentionally aid. So obviously, if you are using this person, he will get free because he is an insane person, because he never knew the nature and the consequence of that. But the man who got aided and abetted will be guilty for aiding and abetting murder, and same sentence. That's what the section is all about. So you will be, that person who helped the person who was insane to kill me would be found guilty and will be convicted for murder.
Right. Now, suicide. Suicide, you said, is an exception, but there was attempted suicide. We used to have a law where attempted suicide, you were punished. What is the situation there? Why was it changed?
Because that was like very sad scenario. Say a person who is, why people commit suicide? Naturally, Shanaki, is because they are depressed. You don't like it and you don't enjoy committing suicide. So in that context, moment what happened was that you are admitted to the hospital. Moment you are recovered, you are taken to the police station and brought before court. And like it is like, you know, hitting a person who is really devastated again. So the law decided to take it away from that. But if you help aid and abet a suicide person, now say you want to commit suicide, maybe for valid reason, I'm sick or whatever, then I go and give you the poison, I give you the gun, I would be sentenced for death. So you can't aid and abet a suicide. But then the victim survives, then of course he would not be found guilty for attempted suicide. That law has been taken away.
What is the situation of abortion? Is abortion considered an act of murder in Sri Lanka?
No. As far as life is concerned, we say life comes into being when a body part comes out of the vagina.
Right.
So then miscarriage, we call it a separate offence, and that is under section some other laws which governs miscarriage. But that's not death sentence, because we consider the baby inside the womb not alive anymore. Not life.
Not life.
Yeah.
So if something happens, if somebody hits a mother while she's pregnant, we'll say 6 months or whatever, and the baby dies, that guy can't be charged for murder.
It can't be charged for murder of that child, of course, because there is no life.
No life.
But then mother dies, imagine.
Yeah, if
right?
mother dies,
then of course murder, and it can be hurt,
yes,
and all the other offences will come into play, but not to the killing of the child.
Not even culpable homicide.
Yeah, exactly. No, not even
culpable homicide. Okay, the other area is about, when you said about hitting a person, I remember this euthanasia.
Yes.
Mercy killing.
Yes.
There's debates all over the world.
Absolutely.
Whether euthanasia is a mercy killing.
India now just last week, I think last week, allowed it. Euthanasia. Yes.
Okay. What is the situation in India and Sri Lanka in this
India,
euthanasia?
Last week, Supreme Court allowed euthanasia. That is, euthanasia means that if you are sick and if you really can't recover, then you have a right to choose to die. But in Sri Lanka, we have still not allowed it, and I doubt very much that Sri Lanka would allow in the near future.
What is the law as it stands now?
You can't.
You can't. Even a person who's very sick, obviously he can't choose to die.
Yeah,
he can't choose.
No, he can't.
So his then kid obviously cannot.
He can't. Definitely.
Not the doctors.
Not the doctors.
Yeah. Not even through. Is there a process of taking it to the court to take approval? No.
We should, like India, follow it, and I am personally supporting euthanasia.
What is the position in India? What you just
after the Supreme Court judgment, that it is very clear that if it is irrecoverable, you can have a right to go and
make an application to court.
Yes, and there will be a panel of doctors, not only one, who will decide and will go ahead with it.
Right. Now, one of the other issues that happens is accidents where people die.
Yes.
We call it 298 charge on the penal code.
Absolutely.
I am driving, I knock somebody,
sure,
and that person dies.
Yes.
And I have taken all the necessary steps. As you know, driving in Sri Lanka, people jump from everywhere.
Yes.
You can drive with all the rules in the Motor Traffic Act, but somebody can jump.
Yes.
I have seen cases like and then that person is knocked down and person immediately or later dies. Now what is the driver will be charged for? Driver will be charged for murder or something else?
Because unless say I am angry with you, so I can see you somewhere on the road, then I choose to take my car towards you. That is intentional killing, because for some reason I have intentionally killed. But generally any other accidents, you can't prove intention to kill. Intention to kill is cannot be proven in a normal accident, that I wanted to kill that person.
Yes.
So therefore, you cannot call it murder. And there is some section called, as you said, 298, which is driving by negligence and rashness.
Right.
Now, rashness means that you know this will happen and you take that risk. It's about taking a risk. And negligence is you have a duty of care to your neighbor. Whoever, when you drive, you have a duty of care to the others, and you cannot breach it. Now, normally it's civil. Duty of care is delict, it's civil, you can get compensation. But in order to get the death sentence or criminal, it has to be absolute disregard of human life, beyond compensation. Absolute disregard of human life. So in this context, like a man who is drunk, who get onto the road and kill somebody, we would call it absolute disregard of human life. Say this place with a pedestrian crossing, you knock down a man who is crossing the road on a pedestrian crossing, certainly it will be absolute disregard of human life. Say there is a polar, there is huge crowd, and you go at high speed at there, that is absolute disregard of human life. So like that, in special context, you have to look at the context, and this kind of scenario, if it is absolute disregard of human life, beyond compensation, it will be criminal. Otherwise, it is civil. You normally, like normal accident, you can get compensation.
Right. Two questions. Have you seen in your career innocent people being convicted for murder, and do you support the death penalty should be given for murder or not?
Interesting. The first one, innocent, yes. In most of the cases, like there are many accused, and sometimes witnesses want to implicate all, entire family members. So there are instances like that where innocent people have gone in, because witness would include all. But sometimes if they include all, there can be a difference with the medical evidence, and that would be acquittal, or man will go scot free. So very rarely it happens, but it has happened. But then about death sentence, I normally personally don't like it, but in Sri Lankan context, we have the death sentence on the book. You would have seen in the newspapers today, after death sentence, people smile and walk away, even with a "We Victory" sign, right? Now that's a bad signal. We have death sentence and it's like a joke. So either we take away the death sentence, or if we have it, hang people, right? We should not have it in between.
Why is it not carried out?
Because from 1978, July 23rd, it was the last death sentence thing from the Dharmishta Samaja. From that was a concept of that new government in 77. From there to now, it is the president who has to promulgate the time of killing. Earlier, the judiciary gave the exact time to hang. Not anymore. The new law is that the president has to do that, and president up to now has not done that.
No president after
No
70.
president after 70.
Okay. What are the things in criminal law, in law relating to murder, you would wish to be changed?
Again, like I said before, quick, fast trials, because like now we have trials after 17, 18 years, people forget incidents, so people go scot-free. That is from the prosecution angle, even defense. Delay, laws delay. Our law is perfect, fantastic. There is not much change. But the law delays makes even accused vulnerable, because he is married, his life status has changed, and suddenly you want him back in jail. Now that is what we have to change, the laws delays.
Prashant Ali Alvis, thank you very much for joining us once again, and very insightful talk on the law relating to murder. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. That's Law and Order for you today. Our topic was murder and law relating to murder, and we'll join you next week at the same time with another program on Law and Order. Have a good weekend and good night. I'll see you next week.